Commutify presents Between the Lines with Andy Keaton. Each week, we explore the challenging issues transportation demand management professionals face on their journey to transition commuters from driving alone to more sustainable, shared, and active commuting habits. Be sure to subscribe to hear next week's episode and check out our exclusive commuter playlists on Spotify. This is Between the Lines with Andy Keaton.
Hi, everyone, and welcome aboard to this episode of Between the Lines in our ACT Council Spotlight mini-series. And today we're highlighting the Vanpool Council at the Association for Commuter Transportation, or ACT. And we're talking with Michelle Altoff. Michelle is a group commute manager for Commute with Enterprise, overseeing a team of 5 in 4 states in the Southeast with 345 total vanpools, which is amazing. And she also co-leads their regional diversity team initiatives. And important to this conversation today, she's an active member of ACT and has been for a long time, and their CACT chapter in the Southeast, and serves as the current Vanpool Council chair, coming in with a wealth of knowledge. And we're really excited to talk with you today. Thanks for joining, Michelle.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me. This is awesome. I'm so excited to be here and share about ACT and the council and just what we do.
Perfect. Well, let's just jump right into it then. What is the Vanpool Council and who is it for?
Well, clearly it's about vanpooling. Dun, dun, dun. But I feel like most people probably don't know what that is. So if you don't actually know what that is, a vanpool is a group of 4 to 15 people, all live in the same area, commute to work together, functions like a bigger version of a carpool, but they get a lot more employer incentives and public transportation incentives. And get to share the cost of their commute. So pretty simple, even though it's like a little known gem and people don't really know what that is. I know I did not. The council is for anyone, but you have to be a member of ACT. But we have about 170-ish members or so. But I would say, it's for anyone who is a transportation geek and who would like to learn a little bit more about what's going on in vanpooling, or if it could be an asset in your community, which it's an asset everywhere. So everyone should be a member. Personal opinion.
Vanpool is so funny because it's like this amazing, like you said, like hidden gem that works in so many places, but at the same time somehow is also very interesting to transportation nerds. It's like I find it like a fascinating solution, but it's just like so good. So yeah.
Well, it's one of the, and it's so funny, we actually just created this really cool infographic for ACT, which actually we shared with our council yesterday. We had a quarterly meeting and we went through this NTD report, National Transit Database. And there was like 80 pages of data, which is like, oh my Lord. But we got this like couple page document we tried to pull out, and it was so cool to see just some of the benefits of vanpooling. And it's one of the main transportation options that actually makes money for these transit agencies or metropolitan plan organizations in general. And so little known gem that like brings revenue in. And so it's cool. It's cool to see that.
Yeah, that's awesome. A side bonus of having a good program, you also make money off of it. And
it helps your local community. So I always like to think it's like the circle of life, right, with NTD, where it helps the end user save money, it helps the regional planning agency, it helps the federal government, and these people get money back in their communities to help the local area, whether it be with a transportation option or new roads or bike lanes. So it's kind of it's a win-win.
Yeah, win-win. I like it. Win-wins in TDM that's what we like to hear. So, we've already hit on a lot of this, but, just maybe putting a finer point to it. Why is vanpooling, so important to the future of commuting and the future of TDM, transportation demand management? And, why should people be coming to the Vanpool Council to continue talking about this and making Vanpool this thing that's bigger in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. So multiple questions. So one, just why is vanpooling so important? Well, for a lot of areas. So for me, right, I live in the rural South. I actually am from the DC metropolitan area. I moved here to Birmingham about 6 years ago. And being here, in all the major cities, right, like congestion is horrible, but they have so many options. Here in the rural South and a lot of the and, I'd say 80% of the country, right? Like, you've got rural areas that need options. And especially somewhere here where people are so car centric, all they want to do is drive their cars. But the only options here, especially in Birmingham where I'm at, it's carpool, vanpool, or drive your car. I mean, you can have a bus like in the Birmingham city limits, but if you're traveling from Montgomery to Birmingham to Montgomery is a really popular route here, or up to Huntsville, or my territory, like you were saying, I oversee 4 states, so I oversee South Georgia, the Florida Panhandle, Alabama, Mississippi. This is the only thing they have, and so it's so critical for these programs to exist and us have these like transit partners to help these people because it's it, and especially in the rural South. You think about transportation as something that really is vital just for the economy. But you think of major cities with major money makers, but a lot of these folks really that extra $100 is a really big difference to them. So van pooling is a really important tool in the toolbox that's really helpful for long distance commuters, and it's where there's a transit desert and not bus service. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I love that, and I love solutions that work kind of across geography, and particularly in rural areas where public transportation maybe doesn't exist or isn't very good. Vanpool sounds like an awesome solution.
Yeah, it's the perfect one.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get back to the question of why someone should join the Vanpool Council in just a second. But first, I want to get to what is it that you're doing? How is the Vanpool Council, planning or currently helping transportation professionals better incorporate vanpooling practices? And just, what is it that you do?
Sorry. Why we're here, right? You'll get me on my soapbox about vanpooling and why it's important all day. Sorry.
No, that's good. I mean, that's important. We need to be like, okay, vanpool is great. We've got that checked off. Now, why is the Vanpool Council? What is that doing?
Why is the Vanpool Council doing? So many things. So like I said, we have about 170 members. We actually have 2 work groups that we have created for the council that members can be a part of, so you can join. One is a professional development work group, and their job is to help create sessions, webinars, virtual discussions. So last year we put one on with Telework Council and the Shuttle Council, actually just talking about return to work and what that could look like. We typically have a couple sessions at the annual conference. I'll do a plug for Melissa Foley. She is our chair of that. And so we actually have 2 really cool sessions at the international conference, and I'm excited about, and I think I have to moderate one, or was told I have to do something. It's fine.
You get to moderate.
I get to moderate, right? But we'll be talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and why that's important in vanpooling and how we can help others from a marketing strategy and approaches. And then the second, we'll be looking at, you asked about the future of commuting and why it's important. And a partner out in Washington and Oregon are going to be talking about what they're doing out there to help what they did during COVID and then what they're doing for the future to be creative. So we like to do things like that. The second, which I kind of talked a little about earlier, but I'll super plug them, is our communications and directory work group. And so what they do is they try to connect people up, right? Maybe it's a brand new person to the council and they're looking for just a mentor. Who can I go to as a resource? Who is trying to do a new RFP and who's trying to start a new subsidy? I'm trying to look at, starting up maybe something in a rural area or in a new urban area. And so we try to have those resources lined up where we can point people. The other is we're trying to create things. So we actually created a map last year, and it's this super cool Google map where about 25 of our partners have gone in and just put their information. And so you can actually see where people are across the country and use it as a resource to go and talk to them. And then the second that we just finished literally yesterday, and I just launched, was a Vanpool Council infographic, which is a few pages. And we actually used it. The goal of it was to help transit agency partners to sell to their executive directors and their board members about why vanpooling is so important and how it can actually make them money and how it's revenue positive, which is kind of unheard of in TDM. And so now we're going to start working on an infographic for B2C and looking at, just what are some of the important things that our council members can use. So being a member of the council gets you access to all of that. And it lets you network and collaborate. And we're trying to provide value to our members. It's not like when you're part of the council, it's not just a check something off the box, right? Like you actually want to get something for your membership. So we put a lot of effort into that.
And I love this. And I feel like the Vanpool Council is usually just doing incredible things. I feel like I'm always seeing another thing coming out of your council. So it's awesome to see. And I really like that there's programming. So, you want to learn more about Vanpools, here's these events, these, conference panels or whatever it might be. And then there's also like actual information that comes out. The map that you talked about, I've seen is awesome, like really cool. I'm excited to see the infographic as well and look through that. Really, really great. So all of this, I mean, you've got me sold already, and you've kind of talked about why someone should join the Vanpool Council, but give me your best pitch. Why should someone listening now who's not a part of the Vanpool Council, or maybe is but hasn't been as active, why should they join? Why should they become more active? And maybe we'll throw in a little one here as well. If they're not even an ACT member, why should they join ACT and then the Vanpool Council?
Oh, that's a great question. So one, joining ACT is an incredible experience. You get access to all these different people of information levels, right? Wealth of knowledge. Whether you're just starting out in the TDM industry or have been around for a long time, there is something for everyone, truly. I've been involved for about 10 years. And I've fallen in love. I have excelled my career personally and professionally. I've learned so much, gained so many friends, and I can't recommend it enough for your own personal development. On the Vanpool Council side, why not? That's the simplest answer, right? Because at the end of the day, if you are in a part of the country and you're trying to learn more and advance your industry, why wouldn't you want to be a part of some of these councils who can be coming up with new innovative strategies, collaboration, article sharing, just to be knowledgeable, but also how do you move your business forward, right? And so that's what we do every day. So it's easy and it's free, and we have quarterly meetings, so it's really not that much time. So why wouldn't you be a part of it?
I mean, that seems like a good pitch to me. Yeah, why not? I mean, it is easy. And I agree. If you're looking at anything to do with Vanpools, it does seem like it makes a lot of sense. I mean, just being able to connect with others who have the experience like you and understand, problems or successes and what you should do and what you shouldn't do makes a lot of sense to me.
Yep. So we're easy. We're all in. We're fun to hang out with. And I would highly recommend at least just hopping on a meeting. We're also going to be planning some fun things this summer. We like to call them coffee talks. And quick 30-minute in the morning, grab your cup of coffee and just have a nice conversation, talk to people across the country and kind of just, see what people are doing. We try to pinpoint one or two topics. So, we'll talk about Bike to Work Day, which I know we're in Vanpool land, but that's still important because that still connects the dots, right?
Yep.
And so talking about hybrid workers, talking about return to work, talking about, oh my God, I need more coffee myself for this coffee talk. But but we're talking about a lot of different things at the end of the day and trying to collaborate with each other. And so I've always found them really insightful, and they've been a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, no, man, I think that's a great idea. Just some sort of informal way to have conversations and low pressure. I mean, yeah, count me in. It sounds fun. Okay, so on to our last question. This has been awesome, and we talked about ACT, we talked about vanpooling, we've touched on the future of vanpooling a little bit. It sounds like there's going to be some people talking about this at the international conference in Chicago in August. But I want to get it from you, get your opinion, put on your Sears hat. Where's the future of Vanpool going?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's funny if you had, so last year we actually did a session at the international conference directly on this. And I felt like I had to be like George Jetson and try to see things like 10, 20 years from now. Right. And so one, it's such a pivotal time in transportation, but especially in Vanpool, because I think as an industry, we're trying to figure this whole hybrid thing out. It's been happening for so long, but now it's just on a mass scale with return to work and what employers are doing. And so the future of Vanpool is so pivotal right now, but it's about to change. And so it's really cool just to see where things are going, where you're going to see a lot more technology advance. And I won't do pitches for some of these people and the things that I already know are coming down the pipeline. But, you're going to start seeing more subscription service where, right now I always say, most of vanpooling is with a contract with one person, with a coordinator, right? And so are you buying the plane or are you buying the seats on the plane? And right now you're buying the plane. It's shifting to buying the seats on the plane. And so it's going to be so cool in the next 2, 3, 5 years with how just vanpooling evolves and how it keeps up with that. So that's my future Jetson spiel. It is changing. It's going to keep up with the times and be ahead of the times in the Joneses. And it's going to be really exciting to see how things evolve in the next couple of years because it's already there. We just have got to get the technology to keep up with it.
I love the plane analogy. It does make it makes it kind of clearer what you're talking about. I like the buying seats versus buying a plane. I mean, I think we'd all be happy to buy a plane if we had the money, but I mean, buying a seat's fine, I suppose. But yeah, not just keeping up with the Joneses, but getting ahead of them.
Exactly right, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I think there's like a commercial with a bunch of like famous Joneses driving a car. I can't remember what the car commercial is, but like they're like keep up with the Joneses, and it's different like actors with the last name Jones. Then we should just add a Vanpool that like drives past them and is like, you don't need to keep up with the Joneses. Get ahead of them.
You can stay ahead of them. Hey, that's a commercial. I got to pitch that to our corporate office and be like,
exactly.
No, I just
honestly.
I need like Matthew McConaughey or something, right?
Exactly. He'd be perfect. Oh man, I won't even try to do the impression, but yeah, you can take that idea, take it for yourself. You don't even need to give me credit. I'll know.
I'll pay you some royalties on the side. I'll give you some coffee.
Perfect. Hey, and then I can I'll join the coffee talks and I'll be like, hey, I got this coffee. This is great. So as you can tell just from this conversation, Vanpool Council, super fun. I've had a great time with you. So I don't know how you could watch this or listen to this and not be like, I need to spend more time with Michelle and the team. Good enough pitch for me right there. Just this conversation's been really fun.
Oh, thanks, Andy.
Yeah, thanks for being on. It's like I said at the beginning, this is part of our ACT Council Spotlight miniseries. So we've been talking to councils, across ACT, and we're going to keep releasing these episodes over time. So definitely, if you're watching this, listening to this, check out the ones we've already released. Check out the ones coming up in the future. And for our new listeners who haven't kind of heard this spiel before, or for the ones that somehow decide to stick on through the end spiel every time, thank you for doing that. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast at betweenthelines.io. We send emails when new episodes come out, so you can know if it's something you really want to check out or not. And check us out on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. And the video is now also up on both Spotify and YouTube. The future of podcasts is video, apparently. So that's where we're going. So check us out. It's a little more fun. Feels like maybe you're more in it. But thanks again for joining us and listening to us or watching us this episode. And Michelle, thanks again for being on. And thanks for everything you're doing for ACT and the Vanpool Council. It's amazing. We're excited to see where it continues going.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. It's been great. And join ACT. That's my last plug. Join ACT. Join the council. It's an amazing organization. It's been fantastic to be a part of. And there's my last pitch of the day.
Perfect. I loved it. Perfect. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll see everyone again on our next episode. Thanks for joining.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Between the Lines with Andy Keaton. Be sure to subscribe to hear next week's episode and check out our exclusive commuter playlists on Spotify.